Hello and welcome to another breakfast, or rather brunch with Unity, as it is today. It's 11 a.m. where I'm at, so I guess that qualifies as between breakfast and lunch. Thank you for joining. What we're going to look at is projectors. We did a shadow before, and I mentioned projectors on them, and I mentioned that projectors could solve some of your problems, and I found out that they might not solve all of our problems, especially not on Unity Basic. So projectors are available on Unity Basic. This is all the stuff I do on the show is Unity Basic compatible, but I had forgotten kind of how they worked, and I'm going to show you how they work now. So I've got two textures I brought in, and I also imported standard assets. You're going to have to go into this is in the project if you just download the zip file already, but if you're working on your own, following along, what I did before the show is I went into import package and chose projectors and just imported everything that was in there. So we've already got that. This is in the standard assets projectors. And the reason I did that is by default, for whatever reason, there is one on the current version of Unity. There's only one shader for projectors, and I'll show you this in a second. So if we go to create, what is it called? Material. And we call this Shadow Projector. The shader for projectors, the built-in one, there's just additive. And for whatever reason, there's not a multiply version. If you import, and it actually might have been called light, actually, let's double check. So, no, this one's the one that's called light. So if you import this, you get an additional additive one called light, which is it any different than projector? I think they're identical. Like if I do projector additive, yeah, it's going to look exactly the same as projector light. Of course, projector multiply. Oh wait, maybe it won't. It's different. Okay. Well, there's slight differences between them evidently, but projector multiply is what we're going to want. And what this does is, so additive means that anything that's black becomes clear, anything that's white becomes white, and then anything that's colored in between becomes those colors in between. Multiply is more like subtractive light, like when you think of like drawing crayons together and stuff. So when you multiply, if something's black, it becomes black, and if something's white, it becomes clear. Basically, it becomes the same color that it was before. That being said, things didn't work exactly that way when I started playing around with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate a spot shadow project, and I'm going to call this spot shadow projector. And we're going to, actually I'm just going to call it shadow projector. It didn't matter either way, it was a spot. Okay, so we're going to open this up. Don't save, I don't care about that scene. So I'm going to go to our sphere, and I'm going to get rid of, remember on this scene we already have a little shadow thing, so I'm going to get rid of it. So we're just going to get rid of the spot shadow script here, remove component, and when we hit play, we have a sphere and there's no shadow. So let's create a projector. So we're going to create I'm just going to create a separate game object called projector. We're going to look at the uses and limitations of this thing. So first off, if you didn't know there were special, what are they called? Special materials for this, we could just pretend that, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a effects projector here. We could pretend that we don't know what we're doing, and we could just use a normal material on this thing. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put our spot shadow material on it first. And you can see that it does something kind of weird. If the projector is looking at something, so I'm going to rotate it in, and it becomes in part of its view frustum, you'll see that the texture just appears like in the center of the object. It's kind of weird. And the reason for this is what's actually happening when the projector happens is adding a texture layer to the object with our new material. And that's part of the reason that projectors are expensive. And if the shader is not set up appropriately, it just adds it to the center. It doesn't use the projector information at all. The shaders that we have here actually use projector positional information and stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch it over to shadow projector. And now it's going to actually look still very similar. It just completely lights the object as gray right now. So this is our projector multiply thing. So we're going to actually add a material to this. I'm going to actually just point this at both objects, just 90 degrees down. And, oh yeah, the default settings, sorry, these weren't actually their default settings. So if you just dragged in some textures, they come in as repeat. And these would be the default settings that you'd see. So, I had changed those when I was experimenting earlier. So let's put one of these textures on here. So I've got a shadow here. This is this one is if we look at it, this is it's a circular shadow. It just looks like a black box here because this is an alpha here. Because that's kind of how I figured that it would work, that it would use alpha. So I went ahead and tried that first. So we put this in here on our cookie, and you'll see that it made everything very black. And so that didn't work. And so I tried setting it alpha as transparency, and that doesn't do an effect. And honestly, it shouldn't have, because this just changes the way that that the importer does edges on alpha, so that the colors come through and stuff, and also changes the way that it displays here. So then I created another one. This one is the same deal, except for I'm like, oh, it's multiply, so it probably isn't taking the alpha information into account in any case. So, well, like I said earlier, multiply. Things that are dark become dark. Things that are light become whatever they were before. So that will work for our projector. So I went ahead and put that in here. And you'll see that everything became white, which is still not what we want. And the weirdest thing, and if anyone knows why this is the case, I would love to know, because this is so weird to me. So there's this option called alpha from grayscale. And what it does... Oh, wait. I see what it did. Oh, weird. Alright, so if I hit apply and use alpha from grayscale on this thing, it works. Now, it works a little bit oddly because we're seeing multiple things, but that's easy to fix. All we have to do is change the wrap mode. And actually, I think I solved my own problem now as to why this is happening. So, when you do alpha from grayscale, what's actually happening is the stuff that's white becomes white, and the stuff that's dark becomes low alpha. And that's evidently how you want to set this up. So if I had set it up properly in the texture, it would be 100% alpha, 0% alpha, and everything would be white. And that would make an appropriate projected texture effect. So now we got this working, and we clamped it so that it no longer repeats. So if we clamp it, we get one spot, and it feels like it's right. And actually, in the case of shadowing, it basically is, except for one little problem. And that problem is, and it's not, I've seen it in games before, actually, but if we have, like, multiple layers, like, if we create and it doesn't look terrible in the case of, well, I mean, you'll see. So if we duplicate our plane, and then we move it up, you'll see that both layers of the plane get the projector. So does the sphere. And in the case of a multiply projector, it's not as bad, because in theory, this object should be completely obscured by shadow, right? But we don't have shadows. We're not using Unity Pro here right now. And so this could be a problem if your game doesn't have a shadow projection. You would need to make sure that the way that your lighting is set up only affects certain things. Now, this actually applies to lights, too, I think. So if we create, like, a point light, and we then get rid of our directional light for comparison, you'll see that the lights do the same thing. Lights will light objects. So, like, if we move our light around, it lights both the top and bottom layers. And so we would need to rely on shadows to actually make that look right. Unfortunately, we can't rely on that. So that's kind of a bummer. Delete. So I'm going to go back to our directional light. But that's how it is. So keep that in mind when you're doing projectors. It's, as I said, it's less of a problem with the shadows because I mean, there's a few different things we could get around this. We could use lighting baking, which I don't have time to go into on the episode to try and like obscure the bottom texture so that the shadow doesn't show up. But the shadow's still going to project on there no matter what. So there's a few different ways you could do it. You could make the projection really short so that you don't have the problem as much, and that's done by just changing the far clip plane here. We could just change it to like 5 meters, and that way when we get past 5 meters, it just doesn't shadow anymore. That's cool. You can actually see the shader changing as the projector geometry changes. The other thing that's kind of nice is projectors actually do project. So like if you angle something out, ooh, that doesn't look good. Oh, what is that? On the edge of my texture? What? Ooh. I hadn't seen that one yet. Ooh, I don't like that at all. I have a feeling this has something to do with how I set my textures. Okay, so this is all weird. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna try setting up a shadow. I'm gonna open up Pixelmator and make one more shadow. I wanted to avoid having to actually open it up and do this and just have it all ready for the show. So let's actually do it with my newfound knowledge of we want it to be white to so do we want it to be white to black? No. Cancel. We want it to be black to white, but we actually want it to be, the black should be actually white and no alpha. So let's try this and see if this works. I have a feeling it may not work. So I'm just going to try and get to 128, and drag it across here. And we're going to save this as, save copy as PNG. And I'm going to do a shadow alpha type 2. And we'll drag this into here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on our projector. Okay, that also wasn't right. Oh, so weird. So does it want to have... Does it really want to have black? Alright, let's try... Actually, you know, I'm going to go back to Shadow No Alpha because I was close to working. And I want to see... So we're going to do the rotate so that it looks terrible again. Is this actually part of a compression problem? So if we do... if we go to Shadow No Alpha and we change the compression to true color... Well, it makes it better, but it still has that band across the side. Huh. Lots of little caveats to worry about, aren't there? Any options here that might help? If I choose the far clip plane way further, no, that's not something that we introduced. Okay. Orthographic, does that solve it? Well, it does, but not for the right reasons. Because if we scale this down, I'm sure we'll still... Oh, maybe not. Wait. Oh, orthographic size. There it is. Yeah, we can still see the lines when it comes really close in. That's weird. All right. Let's do one more texture real quick in Pixelmator. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually make this black. And actually, you know, maybe we should make all of it black, but then have it be low alpha. Let's try this as an experiment. Did I do this the right direction? It seems so wrong, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I'll do both. We'll create this one, and then really quickly create the other one. So here's this one. File, save. Save a copy as Projector Test 3. And then undo this, and we'll do another where it's white to black. which will look very odd in this editor, but I just want to see what this does. And yes, this is sometimes how I learn things, just by trial and error. You can also, of course, search for things online. I try to show that on the show too. But sometimes you'll learn better stuff just by playing around, or at least learn the limitations. So Projector Test 4. I don't know why I started with 3, but whatever. Or yeah, I started with 3. Projector Test 4. Let's bring these in. And what are we doing? We're going to our shadow projector, and we're going to do Projector Test 3 on it. And then we're going to make sure that Projector Test 3 is set to clamp. So that looks real. Oh, is it related to the clamping? Alright, actually let's try one more thing. Let's go ahead and apply this. So this obviously is not what we want. Let's go to our shadow projector. I actually want to go back to Shadow No Alpha. And then what I want to try is, if we go into our Shadow No Alpha and we say alpha is transparency, does this clear it up? No, it didn't clear it up. Was repeated, the problem's not there. Interesting. Wait, if I say cookie, does it fix things? If I say cookie, what do we get? We get nothing. Light type, directional, because they called it cookie, so maybe it has to be a special setting. So let's try a few of our other ones with the cookie setting. So Projector Test 4. Let's try shadow. Let's try this one as a cookie, and then put this on our shadow projector. Nope, still didn't work very well. Weird. All right. All right. So what's Projector Test 4 do? Does that do anything good? Ooh, that's looking promising. At least it's kind of right. But now let's see if Projector Test 4. We're going to set it to clamp, and we still get the problem. Huh. If we say alpha is transparency, still have the problem. If we change it to a cookie, apply. Well, that's different. Let's say alpha from grayscale. No, that doesn't fix anything. And what if we did like a point light? Does that change anything? Huh. It's interesting. It becomes a cube map when we do point light. I guess that makes sense because it's projecting out. Alright, well, in the most basic sense, if you don't rotate the projector too much, you can get a decent looking effect. But, Alright, let's go through all of them. I'm going to set all of these to cookies. We're going to hit apply, and I'm just going to go through the list real quick. Nope. 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 So on cookie, it seems terrible in all cases. Okay, I got another idea. We've got this fall off thing. Maybe that will help us. So if we go to, oh wait, no, the fall off is the ramping for distance, I think. So that's not going to solve our problem. Weird. Huh. All right. Well, this probably wasn't terribly helpful for most people, other than I guess they'll probably just be scared of projectors at this point. So let me go back to the import settings on all these things. We're going to change them to just texture, apply, and I'm going to use the one that was working the best, which I think was Shadow No Alpha. Actually, Projector Test 4 would work just fine too. Let's just use that one. So Projector Test 4. And I'm just going to angle this thing down. And yeah, so it's not going to be terribly useful for spot shadows. I wonder if it would work better in the additive version. Additive would of course not help us in a shadow scenario, but if we wanted to do some like text projection or something. Huh. So weird. Oops, that's the light. Let's just move the light somewhere else. Oops, that's not what I want. Just be somewhere else. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to put this projector on the sphere just to finish up the episode, and we're going to. So if you notice, when you're past the sphere, it stops projecting on it completely. But if you're if you're inside the sphere, it actually still projects on the sphere. It's not like a raycast, which will not raycast if you're inside of it. So I'm going to put this at 0, 0, 0. I'm going to put it so it's inside here, and we're going to make it so it doesn't project on itself. And the way we're going to do that is through layers. So ignore layers. What layers our sphere on? I'm just going to put it on a layer called I was going to say no shadow. And we're going to put this onto that layer. And on our projector, we are going to set it so that ignore layers, we do ignore no shadow. And that way we will just have the shadow down there. And so if we move our sphere around, we get a drop shadow. Now, of course, the only problem with this is if we rotate our sphere, it will actually project and do some really stupid things when we actually just want the shadow to stay the same. So we could pretty easily solve that by just a very simple script. I'll just say maintain orientation. And we'll just really quickly bang this out so that we have something that might be useful to someone. What are we doing? We're doing public. What are we doing? Oh yeah, just private vector3 original, actually quaternion original rotation. And what we'll do is in start, we will set original rotation to equals transform.rotation. And in update, in late update, all we will do is transform.rotation equals original rotation. Save. So now if we throw this on our projector, when we hit play, even if we rotate our sphere around, it should continue projecting downward. Yay. So that works. And we have the added bonus of it actually like expanding nicely. And unfortunately, there's a lot of non-bonuses that we have to deal with too. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this, call it an episode. Not our best episode, but, can't win them all. Thank you very much for joining me today. Sorry that it was late, and sorry that it was kind of lame. If you have any questions, please email me, pushypixels@pushypixels.com. You can also tweet me @Dragfire. If you figure out how to make projectors super awesome, go ahead and email me too. That would be useful, or put comments in the channel. And yeah, you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you. You guys have a great weekend, man. Seriously, have a great weekend. I might do some broadcasting over the weekend. We'll see. If not, I'll catch you on Monday. Have a great one, and yeah, I've said that like 16 times. See ya!